Good evening, everybody. This is the 13th floor. Listen to a bet, a WBN production at TBJ Radio at TuneIn Radio, Lehman College. I'm your host, Mark Robinson, and I'm here today with the CEO of WBN, Mr. Richard Best. How you doing today?
All right. How's it going, Mr. Robinson?
Things is all good.
All right.
So today's show is going to be talking about the veteran divorce rate. And, no, Mr. Best, you have something to talk about that?
Yeah. The divorce rate in the United States hovers between 40 and 50%. But that number jumps to 80% for combat veterans. The suicide rate for veterans is also staggeringly high. The overall divorce rate among both males and female service members held steady in the fiscal 2017, marking the fourth year running that the rate has hovered between 3% and 3.1%. They marry too young and often moved. So there are a number of factors of why people divorce, but let's get started on veterans divorcing while they were young or in service.
Okay. Well, I mean, as a veteran who divorced while in service, I think specifically my service probably a lot different than most people's because it wasn't. It's similar and different. Like in my personal case, because both me and my wife's our career tracks were different. So I particularly, I got stationed in Virginia. So I got married at Fort Lewis in Washington State. So when I got stationed in Virginia, because my wife was a school teacher, and so there was no jobs in Virginia, and then the ones that were available, they were paid really, really less than Washington, so already be taking a pay cut. And then Virginia had this thing called, I think it's called LIFO. It's last in, first out. So the last person to get hired is the first person to get fired.
Right.
So, you're expecting, because she was a civilian, to uproot her entire life, move to the other side of the country for a lower paid job, and then there's the possibility that she'll just get fired, a month or two into it.
Yeah.
So we made the decision, for her to stay over there, to, stay at least, then became, now we're maintaining two different households.
That had to be hard for you guys.
It was pretty difficult because, we're maintaining two different households. We're on opposite sides of the country, so the 3-hour time difference, and then just the splitting our assets for double the work. So, we have rent there. I have to pay rent in Virginia. If I don't want to do the college student thing and live on beanbags, I have to furnish this apartment while having a fully furnished townhouse in Washington. And, the car thing. And it became, it was like, years-long separation. And we pretty much became two different people.
Yeah.
Like, we were married, but we were pretty much living like single people. We would see each other on the holidays and things like that. And then she wound up working at Amazon. So she was working at Amazon, which was a better pay than working as a teacher. But then it also becomes now she couldn't transfer, to Virginia because now she has to stay at this job.
Wow.
And so it just became like this. Yeah, like, and I was getting promoted, and so there were more opportunities for me on the East Coast for duty station wise, and then she was getting better opportunities on the West Coast through Amazon.
I bet she was.
Yeah, so we were kind of, and then. Yeah. Then the separation became years longer and to the point to where we kind of didn't even know how to be with each other because we were separated
Yes.
for so long. It was
Right,
like
right.
it was awkward, and we were like strangers. Like, oh, so how are things going? The 3 hour time difference didn't really help. So I call her, she's still at work. She calls me, I'm getting ready for bed.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, there was so at a certain point we just kind of had to make the decision. Like, is this what we're gonna keep doing?
All of the day.
Yeah, so I mean, we're still friends. It wasn't, it wasn't like a bitter divorce. We weren't fighting over assets. We kind of just sat down and was like, hey, this is like, why are we together if we're pretty much living like single
Yeah,
people?
you're done.
So
right.
yeah, it pretty
I
much
get
became
it.
like it was a really pragmatic, we separated on good terms, and it wasn't no like these divorce horror stories where
Right.
people are where they're trying to sue you for everything you have.
Yeah, well, I got
stuff
one.
like that.
I got a divorce horror story. Okay. When I first came out of the service, well, first of all, when I went in the service, while I was in the service, I married my childhood sweetheart so that we can get the allotment checks. You know?
Yes.
So it seemed like a pretty good idea at the time,
It always does.
But it didn't turn out so well. So what happened is by the time I, came home, of course, I was deployed. Well, they didn't call it deployed then, but I was sent to Vietnam. When I came back, she had a life before, While I was in the service, she was doing her thing,
Yeah.
I come home to it, and now I got to confront her and her boyfriend, or whoever he thought he was. And we were supposed to have been married. So I was like, wow. Come to find out, she was pregnant, the whole nine. So it was a really mess. And then I come home with PTSD. And I'm really, really violent because I'm figuring, I'm just coming out of the service. How could she do this to me?
Yeah.
We're supposed to have a life together, and all of a sudden my whole world's crashed, So we stayed together maybe a year, if that long, because I was getting abusive at that time. I'm like, let me beat her ass, beat his, let me beat them both out.
Beat them both up, right?
But I didn't know any better. I didn't know I had PTSD at the time. Or that was a contributing factor anyway. So we tried to stick it out for about a minute, and then one day I was going to school then, Staten Island Community. I was just started, and I come home from school, and all my furniture and clothes are gone.
Oh no!
I came home to an empty house, man. I was like, oh wow. So that was the end of that relationship, and I got the divorce in the mail. Because we hadn't even been married 6 months, so it was actually an annulment.
Okay.
So it was cool with me because I was young, I was in college, I was home, I'm good, But it was a terrible thing.
Well, because I got married actually later, so I guess you got married right as soon as you joined, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think causes, young soldiers, 18, 19, to just jump straight into marriage? Because I didn't get married until I was like 24.
Yeah. Oh, I got that question. So when I came out of high school, right, that was the thing to do, Oh, he loves me, And the other thing is, oh, I'm not going to give you any sexual gratification unless we're married.
Oh no.
So
the good church girls.
yeah, so we bought into that wholeheartedly, and come to find out, I was the only one she wasn't giving it to. She was giving it to everybody else, but I was like, okay. But basically, when you're that young, you don't think things through. You seem to think that you have all of the answers and you know better than everyone else, and that this girl's going to be with you forever,
Yes.
So some do, some don't, most don't, okay? But I guess it's the contributing factor is being in the service, and coming home, if you get that far,
Yeah. Okay, well, we're going to take a short break. This is the 13th floor, Listen to a Vet, and we will be right back.
Do it.
Right? What, did he balance on that big chair? Or...
Yeah, I mean, I guess he'll just know what his gifts are this year.
I really thought we had hidden them well.
If they can find their presents, they can find a gun.
911, what is your emergency?
Every day, 8 kids and teens are unintentionally killed or injured by loaded and unlocked guns. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and End Family Fire.
Sweet strawberry icing. You're in Goodwill, and just past that vintage denim jacket, you spot miniature donut earrings. You lean in. Ah, that's the scent of shopping success. Because at Goodwill, every item you buy funds local job training and more. So bring home those donut earrings and bring home so much good to your community. Goodwill. Bring good home. Brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling on it.
The dad joke. Corny, groan-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
What did the buffalo say when he dropped his son off at school? Bye, son.
So take a moment to make your kid laugh, because dad jokes rule. Make your kid laugh today. Go to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
And we're back. This is 13th Floor, Listen to a Vet, WBN production. We are talking about veteran divorce rates. Mark Robinson, and I'm joined by Mr. Richard Best. How do you think the service, being in the service, affects the divorce rate of soldiers?
That's, wow, what a question. Being in the service not only affects the divorce rate, but it affects the individual first and foremost. When you go into the service, if you go in married, while you're in there, you're transformed into a soldier. Mm-hmm. So the original you are no longer there. The one she fell in love with is no longer there. Okay, it's replaced by something or someone else. So as the marriage go on, you know, the lady or you both try to deal with that separation?
Yeah.
For lack of a better word, but it's hard to do because you have a preconceived idea or preconceived notion of what you wanted and who that other person was. Mm-hmm. That person no longer exists. He's now replaced by being a soldier in the United States Army. And that doesn't fare well as far as marriage is concerned. So, because first of all, you have to separate. Yeah. You have the separation of duty, of duty stations, and you just they just uplift you and you go.
Yeah.
Or you spend weeks or months out in the field, wherever it is. And, of course, you're young at that time. So is your wife.
Yeah.
So you're on the base with a bunch of men.
Right.
She's out there, no matter how good she want to be,
The temptation's always there.
Yeah, so it happens.
Yeah, I remember I had a E7 telling me if the Army wanted you to have a wife, they would have issued you one.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So that kind of stuck with me, especially, when you see your soldiers always going through all these crazy things, and you're like, well, why did you guys marry in the first place?
Yeah.
Well, what did you get out of the barracks, Sergeant? Or, something like that. Or they, fresh out of boot camp with that press uniform and that nice steady paycheck, and they marry the first girl they meet.
First girl, man.
We had some, they go to a strip club or something and meet a girl and fall in love. And the next thing you know, they're married.
They're marrying them,
two kids, and then all of a sudden, maybe 3 years later, that's it. She's already gone with the next guy. So.
Yeah, so they married, for one, because of the paycheck.
Yeah.
You get their marriage allotment for the family. You get housing and all that good stuff. But that's temporary. It doesn't last, And as much as you want your marriage to last, even if you are an older soldier, the divorce rate is extremely high.
Yeah.
And the abuse rate is also extremely high.
That's high stress situation.
Yeah, the drunk, you get drunk and beat up your woman, and go home and beat up your wife and kick your dog.
Yeah. Or you because you're young, you want to go out and have fun all the time, and she's at home you're always hanging out with your friends, and she doesn't know anybody around the area. So, that also, I think, also makes the marriage a lot harder.
So there are a lot of contributing factors to it, But why do soldiers and veterans get married so young? Well, there are a number of reasons why. But, for instance, just pick one. It doesn't really matter. The fact of the matter is the divorce. It ends up in a divorce, 80%. So that's a high rate.
Yeah, that's higher than the actual national rate. So.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, you would think that they would be more prepared or be able to, have somebody to pull them to the side and be like, hey, you probably don't want to do. Marriage is very permanent. I mean, you could just sign away with a divorce, but that's like a lifelong commitment that you can't just make lightly because, you like the way she danced at the club.
Right, exactly. Or she gave you a lap dance.
Oh, God, yeah, right. It's like that doesn't mean it's going to happen every night, especially not for free.
Yeah, right, especially, So, but that's the whole problem with being young and getting married in the service, First of all, you don't have no mentors to tell you better.
Yeah.
You're leaving home and, you're away from your parents.
Yeah.
And you want to become a man. You want to think that you're a man making men decisions,
At 19 years old.
At 19 or 18
Not 18 years, or 17.
Right.
You can come in at 17.
Yeah,
so,
right.
You're 17 years old, and now you're head of the household, and you have to make these decisions, and they're probably going to end poorly for you.
Right, because you're not equipped to make those kind of decisions, financially, emotionally, or physically even.
Yeah, that's true.
You're just making decisions off the top of your head without any knowledge or without any regard of the true outcome.
Yeah.
So that's got to be hard on the wife or the husband, of the soldier, be it male or female.
Mm-hmm.
The divorce rate affects everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. So, do you think that that the wives are prepared to support a soldier emotionally or psychologically?
Absolutely not. Because they have no training. They don't know. I mean, the Army doesn't train you to say, okay, he's going to bug out by week 6, after he's all stressed out coming out of basic or, So, no, they're not prepared. And you have to understand that we're talking about 2 young adults.
Yeah.
Who are just out of high school probably and haven't been gone to college, haven't experienced life yet, or life injustice. They think it's supposed to be all hunky-dory forever.
Oh, yeah, those TV marriages. She thinks she's going to be the Army wife or the colonel's wife or whatever. Like, that's not... Those colonel's wives went through some stuff.
Yeah, that's right. And they have a high divorce rate, too, and suicidal rate.
Yeah.
And that's because it's hard to deal with, what we call in the Army Jody.
Yeah.
He's always around.
Always around. Waiting for you to go on deployment so he can be your wife's new friend.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. He's going to comfort her, and he's going to take her to lunch and dinner. She's going to cry on his shoulder. Yes. Tell him how bad you are. And, so it's always going to be that. And then they're going to fall in love, and that's going to end up in a divorce, too.
Yeah.
So, it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah, that's true. No, I definitely agree that there's not I mean, granted, as a 18, 19-year-old, you should be, let me see how I can put this. Yes, you should be able to make these decisions, but there's nobody there to help you. And also, on the part of the spouse, because if you got married before you went to basic, you already married at like 17, 18.
At least, right.
So that has to be like
a losing cause.
Yeah, already. You're already at a disadvantage because you probably come from one of those families to where like you have to get married before you can, have sex, or because she's pregnant, so you guys have to get married. But if you get married right after basic, then you're kind of not equipped because you're not even thinking. You've been 10 weeks, 13 weeks, separated from society, and then you marry the first girl you meet, which is already a recipe for disaster since you know each other a whole 3.5 weeks.
If that long.
If that
you know?
long, right? The 3.5 weeks because
That's right.
you're her regular at
at the club,
at the club
right?
or you're
Or
a
the
regular
diner.
the diner. Exactly. That's exactly what I was gonna say. So you like the way she fries your French fries, so let's get married.
Oh yeah.
And that's always but no, I think but even on the part of the spouse, sometimes I remember I met this girl. She was she she worked at the DFAC and the diner facility.
Yeah,
she worked at the diner facility, and we went out like on a date or whatever, and her mom was like, like being pressured, because she probably lives with her family and saw it as a way to get out of whatever situation, because that's also happened. Like a lot of these female, all these guys, the same thing. They think that marrying a soldier is going to kind of elevate them out of a situation that they don't want to be in. So they, the soldier wants to get out of the barracks, the spouse wants to get out of their parents' house, and they're, like I said, 18, 17, and they're like, hey, let's do it. We can learn how to be together while we're married, which didn't work in the olden days when people were sold off. It's definitely not going to work now. So.
But you know what? Just to put it on a different spin, some marriages do work. Okay,
they do work.
There are some out there who marry in basic training and who are probably still together. Very few of them, I must say, I might add, but I'm sure there are some. Yeah. So to all of y'all out there who stuck it out,
yes,
touche. Okay,
yeah, right. Drinks to you, my imaginary glass.
That's it.
I'll take a shot for you tonight.
That's right. We'll toast to you, okay? Because that's a special thing to be married for any length of time after service. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, I know for my particularly the breakdown was mostly because of the moving constantly and the separation. So do you think that being always moving and being deployed, like the strain that can have on a relationship, do you think that would definitely support that?
Yes, because you know what? It affects the marriage emotionally, spiritually, and physically. Since you're separated so far apart for such a long period of time, you want companionship.
Yeah.
You crave companionship. We're not built as humans to be separated for any length of time from each other.
Yeah.
So when we are separated like that, we start figuring out how we can feel better, and whatever traps we fall in.
That's definitely a good way to put it.
Yeah, we go in head first. You know, so but spiritually it's the same thing. You hunger, and emotionally, you're torn. You're all over the place. You're torn up because your spouse is not close enough to you to hug you or to kiss you or to say hello or good morning. So separation. Being deployed definitely affects your relationship, and mind you, not just a relationship, it affects you as a person, both sides. The wife and the husband. Yeah. So when you come back together, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to fit yourself back into that groove. For lack of a better word, that you were in.
Yeah, no, most definitely. Like the household dynamic always changes, even if you get deployed and then she has to be the head of the household, or if it's reverse, if she's a military, she gets deployed and you now have to be the stay-at-home dad or whatever Mr. Mom or whatever, and then then that person comes back and it's like, because by that time you've been handling everything. You've been handling, so there's like, what do I do? Exactly, I guess you can wash the dishes or something, and then having to kind of ease your way back into the groove, as you say, and then to get deployed again or have to PCS on out. All of y'all are moving, and then you have to kind of start all over again. You have to, find a place and kind of build a new dynamic in this new place just to move again, or just to have one of you be deployed again, and it kind of just, it's like a start and stop all the time.
Yes.
Or like in my case, having both of us just be on opposite ends of the country for 90% of our marriage is
That's
also
gotta hurt, right?
like,
too,
and the opposite ends of the country, 3-hour time difference, and both of us being really like career oriented people. So we're and it came at a point where we were both excelling in our careers, and then now it's like, if you're doing well in your career and I'm doing well in my career, then who should be the one to step down?
Right.
Who should be the one to, all right, well, because as long as I'm enlisted, I'm always going to have a career until I don't,
Right.
So it's like, also becomes, it's the equity, like why should she be the one to have to step down, but why do I have to be the one? And so that's also a friction, especially if you're on opposite ends of the country, living like two separate people, to be like, oh, hey, I know you just got this good promotion, but I think you should quit your job and move across the country to to chill at home with me.
Right.
And so that's also, because it's really hard to like tell somebody, hey, you should stop what you're doing career-wise to support. Man, there are some who do that, but I think they probably have a better dynamic and a better conversation about it than
I'm sure that we're having right now. About it, right?
Hey, by the way, I'm about to pick up Colonel. You should probably not be working anymore. So. Yeah, so with that, we're going to, on that note, we're going to take a quick break. This is 13th Floor, listen to Yvette, the WBN production. We'll be right back.
Philadelphia, local time is 3:05 p.m. and the temperature is 67 degrees. At this time, you are now free to use your cellular devices.
You know that feeling when you get to turn your phone on after the plane lands? You can have that feeling every time you drive. Make sure your cell phone is stowed away whenever you are behind the wheel.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Wake up and text. Text and eat. Text and meet up with a friend you haven't seen in forever.
Hi.
Oh, hey. Text and complain that they're on their phone the whole time. Text and listen to them complain that you're on your phone the whole time. Text and whatever. But when you get behind the wheel, give your phone to a passenger. Put it in the glove box. Just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
All right, and we're back. This is 13th Floor, listen to Yvette, a WBN production, TBJ Radio, TuneIn Radio, Lehman College. Mark Robinson, and I'm here with Mr. Best, and we're talking about veteran and soldier divorce rates. So before the break, we were talking about having a conversation with your spouse about who should give up their career or whether or not that it should be fair. So I want to segue to marriage counseling. One, I don't think there's enough marriage counseling in the military. I remember they were offer. I know the chaplain used to offer, at least when I was in, they would offer these weekend getaways for you and your spouse, with other spouses, and you go to some lodge for like relationship building, stuff like that. Do you think that works? Do you think that having, because I believe that marriage problems for soldiers and veterans are so specific that, just blanket marriage counseling or just, let's lock ourselves in a cabin for a weekend with no phones. Do you think that helps? Do you think that's
no, not at all, man. That's just a fix. A temporary fix at that, as a matter of fact. Because you're having problems and they lock you. You say, okay, let's go away. I would say, yes, I want to go away right away. For one, I'm going to be locked in with a woman, okay, even if I don't like her.
Right, that's probably the most you'll see of the whole weekend.
Right. So after the weekend, your problems are right back. So no, it doesn't change anything. It's not like it's a fix. It's not like you have months of counseling or doctoring. It's not like you could take a pill and fix it. So, no, sending me away with a week with my wife now, okay. But that's because I'm mature enough now to understand that it takes work. You know, it takes more than a weekend. You know, so.
Yeah, I mean, I do believe that they should at least offer more than just, hey, let's get away for a weekend, because, you know, but I think these things kind of come in cycles, you know, like they're just starting to like recognize like PTSD and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think maybe, you know, if, you know, you look at it and you see 80% of the marriages end in divorce, then there's something there, you know, so maybe they should. But whether or not that'll, you know, you and your wife going into counseling is not going to stop you from being PCS'd. It's not going to stop you from being deployed. It's not going to magically stop you from, you know, having PTSD, or it's not going to stop, you know, your spouse from cheating on you when you're away. So, you know, talking about it, I mean, talking helps the healing process. But I think more to the earlier point, I think that, you know, I think you should be in counseling as soon as you get married. Like as an ongoing thing, like you know, because if you wait till these problems come up to then start counseling, I think it's already too late. Like you're already, because you're back for like 6 months and you're about to leave again. Like that's not, the issue just piles on. So I think that especially if you're young, like if you're 17, 18, 19-year-old soldier getting married and already have kids, like I think you should already start marriage counseling, because it's not going to get any easier.
No.
It's not going to get any easier.
Not to mention the problems of having kids, first of all, you know, and if the marriage does dissolve, now you settle down with child support for the rest of their lives, you know, yours, whoever, you know, at least for another 18 years.
Yeah.
And that's not a pretty prospect to imagine. So what happens with that kind of guy? You know, he gets married way too young, have kids way too young, and are stuck with them now.
Yeah.
Even though they were his, what happens is now the outside family, the extended family now have to take over. You know, help the lady with the kids or take the kids completely. Yeah. Because by that time she's saying, okay, I had enough. I'm too young for all of this. I don't know nothing about mothering, you know, so, okay, Ma, here's the kids. I'll see you in another couple of years, you know, whatever. Same thing with the guy. He'll say, Ma, she's no good because she cheated on me. You know, Ma, would you take the kids? And mothers usually get saddled down with it, or the grandmothers, you know. So it turns into a family dynamic. So now it's affecting everybody, you know. That one poor decision now affects 2 generations.
Because, you know, it's not like after the separation, it's not like each of them are not going to have their own families and have their own kids.
Right.
So then you have, you know, step and all of these different types of family dynamics. And then, you know, it's also a very interesting thing, because while they're together, you know, a lot of stuff is already being, you know, provided for them, like their housing, and you know, food allowances and rent and you know, you have medical is free. And so it, depending on which of the parent is the service member and which of the parent gets the kids, is a totally different, you know, thing. Like if the military member gets the kids, then they're pretty much still they're still taken care of, because he's still going to get, or she is still going to get the housing allowance. They're going to still have access to the, you know, the health care. But if the non-military spouse gets the kids, then it becomes, you know, I mean, you're paying child support, but still having access to all of that, because then either you're going to have to still be together, because, you know, they're going to still have to be on in your a part of your TRICARE or whatever your health insurance that you get from the military still has to cover those kids. So it's kind of a really weird dynamic, because, you know, now you're in a situation, or even when they get out, like they get married and then they get divorced while they're separated from the service. So then you go from a situation where everything was pretty much taken care of for you, to a situation to where not only are you out of the service, you don't have access to all these things, and then you have to figure out how to co-parent without, access to all of that, all of those services.
Right. And the bad part of even worse, should I say, not just the bad part, is that you were never taught how to figure out a budget.
Yeah.
You were never taught how to pay a mortgage and car notes and all of that stuff. Because if you re-enlist, you get a lump sum.
Yeah.
Okay. You take that and buy a car with it. Most
some
of the
rims.
Time. Yeah, something. You know what I'm saying, to make you happy.
Yeah.
And then your wife, she thinks you're gonna be there forever to take care of her. Mm-hmm. So when that marriage dissolved because of whatever problems you're having, there's probably a lot of problems. Mm-hmm. It's kind of hard for both parties to deal with.
Yeah, that's true. They said a big influence for marriages is to be stable and investing valuable time with your partners. What do you think the military can do to help to foster that, to to kind of offset that separation, because you can't not be separated in that in those situations. I mean, yeah, you can probably, you might get away with it once, or twice, or maybe you might luck up and get a duty station that like she might want to really be at. But for the most part, you don't have as much time together as say just a regular civilian married couple, because you're always PCSing and always deploying. Right. So what do you think the military can do to help kind of fix that?
To tell you the truth, nothing. Because whatever problems develop in your relationship follows you to those duty stations, even if it's a beautiful Hawaii duty station.
Yes, Hawaii.
Great. Yeah, wherever you want to go, your problems follow it. So how can the Army fix it or make it better? They can't. Mm-hmm. Because we're talking about individuals, and we're talking about people who come from different parts of the country. Yeah. And expect different types of things to happen in a relationship. Now, whether it happens that way is two different things. Mm-hmm. Maybe the guy from the East Coast is more flexible than maybe somebody in mid-America, But then the guy from California is more laid back. Like, okay, well, listen, girl, do you and I'm going to do me, and we'll meet in the middle somewhere, But it depends on the maturity level of both parties, actually. Yeah. The Army has nothing to do with it. It's just that they have this soldier who has a life other than the service of his country.
They has to foster and nurture.
Yeah, so, how do they do that? How do they make themselves better? That's up to each individual, and each individual does it differently.
When I was in, we would have these, what we would call them mandatory fun things, but where they have like family day and all the soldiers bring their families in, and they all pretend that it's the best thing in the world because
it's all hunky-dory.
All the kids get to play, so they're out of your hair, and everybody's pretty much like on their phones or hanging out with their friends, and again the spouses are just kind of just there or hanging out with each other because
that's what happened.
They became
hang out
friends.
With each other, because everybody's doing bad at the same time.
So,
all the while,
exactly, and It's funny when you go to these things because everybody has to show up. So when you go as a single, when you're single, and then you go when you're married, it's such a weird, different dynamic. When you're single, you're like, oh, I'm just as a day off. I don't have to be. You're just hanging out, and then and then when you play baseball or sit in the stands and drink beer. Or eat some free food that you don't have to cook or pay for. Yeah. And then, but then when you go to these things as a married person, you're like, all right, now I have to see if she can get off of work, and then now we have to take the kids, and then we have to, figure out how we. And it becomes less about fun and more about work, and just like, oh man, now we have to do these, and then it's so because I like to people watch. So I would, especially when I was single, I would go to these things and I would look at all the married couples, and they always look so miserable. Like they don't want to be there.
Right.
They're like, I'm having fun. Like, I was a day off. I'm about to just, hang out with my friends and people that I work with, and and so we're having a great. I mean, we kind of don't want to be there either because we could just have the day off and do something else. But the fact that you don't have to be at work and you're at these these functions, and there's always like maybe 2 or 3 families that look like they're genuinely having a good time, but everybody else just looks so like. They got their kids, and the wife is there, and they're both just on their phone, or one of us hanging out and talking with his friends, and she's off talking with her friends,
and they're all talking about each other. Like,
so, I mean, do you think those things like even help a little bit? Like, if even it's gives. I mean, it gives a soldier a chance to like take off the uniform, I guess, and kind of be in a social setting, but. I don't know. Do you like? Did you go to those things and have fun at them?
No. Well, I had fun because I was single.
Then
I was like, ooh. But the thing is, the single guys are checking out the married women. So and the married soldier is saddled down with a woman he no longer cares or likes now. So he got to parade her out here in front of everybody else. And they'll show some sort of normalcy.
Everybody's
like, we're doing okay, but we're having problems, but not that bad, not as big as yours.
It becomes a show now.
You know what I'm saying. So, how they work that out, I don't know, because it won't be a quick fix. I can tell you that. And usually what happens is the woman ends up going back to the stateside, or wherever she's from, They end up going back home and leaving him there by himself. And once she get back home, who knows? No holds barred at that point,
Well, that's an interesting point you brought. So how do you think, like, the conditions of, domestic violence play into this? Do you think that the spouse or the veteran themselves should, I guess, prepare for that? Like, should that be part of the preparation? Like, there's going to be a point where there's probably going to be some domestic, and I mean, not even physical violence. It could be, emotional screen.
I think yes, the answer to that question is yes. They should prepare the spouses for emotional or physical abuse, simply because this is a trained killer, a trained soldier, and his job is to follow instructions to go out there and cause havoc and chaos wherever he is. So he's got that mindset. So when everything doesn't go right for him, he resorts to that mindset, that violence or that discord. Now, how you fix it? No, you can't. Whether you can or can't is immaterial because the marriage won't survive it. The emotional abuse is piled on top of the wife, so when he comes home and he's drinking 2 6-packs of beer a night, just to go to sleep. All right, because the PTSD or whatever it is the mental illness is hard on his brains, and she's got to bear the blunt of it, or he, depending upon which way it goes. But the marriage itself doesn't survive it. Now, whether you could get counseling in time, I still say no, because the counseling has to be done initially, from onset. Listen, these are the possibilities that could happen. So you're faced with a decision. You could fall into the trap and let it happen, or you could see where you're going with it and don't go there and correct it.
To see the signs early before it happens.
Right. But now catching it early enough is 2 different things. And again, that's an individual thing. But abuse is rampant in the service and as a veteran.
Do you think that the type of training we receive as soldiers makes us somewhat more inherent to
Absolutely. Soon as you go through basic training, that do it. That does it right there. It doesn't matter what your MOS is at that point. If you clear basic training, you're now became a trained killer.
Yeah. In the Marine Corps, they say you're a rifleman first before you're anything else.
That's right. There you go.
Yeah.
So, with that mindset, kill, 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 they beat it in your head. First of all, they strip away your humanity, your civilianship, and install a soldier. So when you graduate from basic training, it's a big deal. Oh, you made it. Oh, my God, you're a soldier now. Your Uncle Sam's army, Yeah. It's a big deal. And we take that to bed with us.
Yeah.
It's something that's fostered in us, and I still have it in me now.
Yeah.
And I've been out like 50 years.
Yeah. That's really interesting. Do you think that maybe the training, because when they're not training you as if you're a married person, they're training you as if you're like the Spartan. You're gonna just go out, complete the mission. So do you think that maybe need to be some changes, like at least socially or structurally, that could kind of, I don't know, like maybe stop the soldier from going from 0 to 100, and like, okay, now there's other factors you have to think about, because it's not just, your interaction with your spouse is one part of it, but also the interaction with your family, with your spouse's family.
Friends, yeah.
And then, I saw it was a bunch of soldiers who used their training, their combat training, to like go on this like robbing spree. So it's like, it's not, so it's do you think that maybe there might have to be something, because you have 10 weeks to train, 10 to 13 weeks to train a soldier. So do you think maybe there's something inherently in the training that kind of causes them to be more prone to violence? And do you think there's something that maybe they should look at or try to change?
Absolutely. And the whole thing with basic training, let's just start there, because that's where it begins. Not only do they tear you down mentally, but they build you up physically.
Yes.
So you become this big, strong thing, and they telling you, when I get finished with you, you're going to be a man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you're taking this now, you're saying, okay, now I'm big, now I'm strong, I just finished basic training, I'm a kick ass, I'm a kick ass corporal now.
Yeah.
And then they give you the right to go with it. As soon as you graduate basic training, you become a private first class, a PFC.
Yeah.
So now you're all over the E2s.
Yeah.
So you got some people to boss
power,
around
yeah,
now. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So they do it systematically. Now, how do you break it down? Well, you have to tear that whole system down. Okay, and if you tear that whole system down, you won't have an army.
Well, that's true. But I think also, also on the deployment side of it, I just got back from Afghanistan. Who are you to tell me to take out the trash?
Yeah,
something like that.
Right. I just fought a war.
I just want to have a beer and watch TV, and you're talking to me about dirty dishes and bad grades or something.
Yeah.
So I can understand that, but I mean that doesn't excuse it. But I guess I can see it, from that standpoint.
Yeah, but it's not about looking as far as for an excuse.
Yeah.
Because actually what it is that we just don't know any better at that point. We're coming home and we're like, I just want to cool out.
Yeah.
When I came home from Vietnam, I just wanted to cool out. Matter of fact, I moved back into my mother's house, and my mom's just sitting there like, wow, who is this guy? And I'm just sitting around like, okay, tossing down a couple of drinks or whatever. And found me one buddy who remembered me from back in the day, because 3 years, 4 years, 5 years is a long time.
Yeah.
When you're separated from your community. So when you come back to that community, it has completely changed.
Yeah.
The whole dynamics of it has changed.
Yeah.
Some has moved out, some has moved in.
Yeah.
Okay. And certain things have changed, that in my day it was a big drug boom then, So half of them became drug addicts, and the other half went off to school.
Yeah.
So I stayed in that environment for a minute, and then I decided, man, I'm going to school.
Okay.
So that's how I saved myself, I think. But I still carried on. I still carried that mental issues. I still carried the scars. So I never got rid of it, and I never addressed it until I was older.
Okay, so we're gonna take a short break, and they're gonna be right back. You listen to from the 13th floor. Listen to Yvette on WBN.
I asked what kind of family she wanted. She said, a family like yours.
Learn more about adopting a teen at adoptuskids.org. You can't imagine the reward. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Mario fue pintor más de 30 años. Un día me dijeron que pintara el marco por dentro y pinté el lado de afuera.
Si algo se nota diferente, podría ser Alzheimer. Es momento de hablarlo. Un mensaje de the Alzheimer Association y the Ad Council.
I can't believe he found them.
He seems sorry.
We very clearly told him not to look up there.
I'm honestly impressed that he was able to do it.
Right? What did he balance on that big chair?
Yeah, I mean, I guess he'll just know what his gifts are this year.
I really thought we had hidden them well.
If they can find their presents, they can find a gun.
911, what is your emergency?
Every day, 8 kids and teens are unintentionally killed or injured by loaded and unlocked guns. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and End Family Fire.
And we're back. This is 13th floor. Listen to Yvette, Mark Robinson, and I'm joined by Mr. Best. So we were talking about divorce rates in the military and for veterans. I know one aspect, well, personally for me, because it sort of was a factor besides the separation, but it kind of played into it because we both, again, we're really starting to pick up in both our careers. So we can talk about financial stability. Do you think that maybe, well, both on the marriage and the divorce end, maybe, this young soldier now has at least 4 or 5 years that he's going to be guaranteed payment. And so do you think that maybe the prospect of financial stability is maybe one of the contributing factors to where they jump into marriage really quickly?
Yeah, probably. Most likely anyway. Because you got to think, coming right out of high school, 17, 18 years old, you're coming right out of high school. Mm-hmm. You have no idea about what jobs are really about.
Yeah.
You worked in the local supermarket or in the diner or whatever, minimum wage, and you just had enough money to, to buy yourself a beer and hang out Saturday night. And after Saturday night, you flat broke. But come Monday morning, you're borrowing money to go to work.
Yeah.
Okay? So, but if you have a financial plan when you go into the service, and the likelihood of that happening is nil because you have nobody to really tell you about a financial plan. Unless you know an older veteran who's gone through it and is trying to save you from going through what he went through. Mm-hmm. Now, whether you listen to him or not is two different things. Because basically they'll look at you like, oh, man, you're an old guy, you don't know no better, blah, blah, blah. And you're crazy because you're a veteran.
Yeah, right.
Like all veterans are crazy. But to answer that question, yes, financial stability is very, 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 very important, because not only do you have to plan your strategy for while you're in the service, but you have to plan on when you leave.
Yeah.
Even if you're there to make it a career, even better. Because by that time, if you do 20 years and you're going into 18, you're coming out at 38.
Yeah.
So if you have a financial strategy, already planned out, a portfolio and all the rest of that good stuff.
Yeah.
You're coming out with a pension, and you coming out with financial stability, a strategy.
Yeah.
So with that being said, your wife is now going to look at you totally different. Like, okay, you prepared for this.
Yeah.
That we have something that you've already worked on.
Yeah.
And that's going to be paying off immediately.
Yeah.
So that makes a big difference, yes.
Yeah, I remember watching the news, and they were, when I was stationed in Virginia, they were talking about, the troop reduction. And they had this Air Force couple, and the wife was like, he's been in for 28 years, and I don't know what we're going to do if he gets when they downsize the military, and and I was like, you guys have been in for 28 years. Like,
right.
At no point did it occur to you that this is not permanent?
Right.
28 years. And it's not like he was an E4 or something like that. Like this, he had some rank on him. I don't know his family situation, but at 28 years in the military, that's a lot of paychecks. That is. You could have put one away, or
at least $10 out of each one.
The TSSP, just throw like $10-15 in that thing.
Yeah,
28 years, you'd be a millionaire.
Yeah, that's right. Because they not only would they match pay.
Yeah,
plus 5.
But and that's a lot of. That's a lot of interest that you could be collected for 28 years. But no, when you look at, like E4s, and they don't prepare to get out because they just do, one and done. They do their little contract and they get out, and they don't think, what's going to happen past that. But, 28 years, do you think that maybe it should be a better financial training? Even, for separating, like, especially if you're married, because if, you go from, if both of you aren't working, there's only one breadwinner in the house. And then when you get out, you're reducing that to, because however long it's going to take, if you don't have a job lined up, you're going to have to rely on those savings or, so, the stress of that obviously can lead to divorce. But do you think that there should be something that they can do to, I guess, better prepare these individuals?
Well, let's look at it. When do they start this preparation?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I say they should start it immediately when you enlist. Okay, but then again, we're talking about a career man as opposed to
just a one and done.
Yeah, one and done guy. If he's one and done, then he's looking for a job immediately once he gets out, and he don't care about preparing. A guy who has a career, he's thinking about having a career. So that's part of his strategy. Whether he start the savings plan, because we always overspend with there.
Of course.
We always want to buy this or buy that. We had the fanciest cars with the big bags on it.
Mm-hmm.
We had the best stereo equipment, the big screen TV, the whole nine. And, the wife was always fussing because she never had the money to go out and buy her a new dress or something. Because, we felt like, I earned this. This is mine. You get the allotment.
Right, exactly.
So, yes, financial planning should be incorporated at some point in time.
Okay.
But then where, when, and how? Okay, that's always a problem with the Army. And then they just say later for it, man, why do it at all? Suck it up.
It's on you to learn it.
Yeah.
All right, well, we are almost out of time. This has been 13th Floor, Listen to Event. Any final thoughts, Mr.
It's been fun, Mark. It's really been fun.
It has very informative.
But you veterans out there, listen carefully. I'm a Vietnam veteran. I've been out of the service over 50 years. There is a new way. It's a new life out here. Okay, you do not have to be sitting at home jobless. Okay, you do not have to be homeless. The VA offers more benefits and more opportunities than you can shake a stick at. You just have to reach out and go get it. And if you don't want to go to the VA, reach out to WBN, We Belong Network, because that's what we do. We're here for you and your families and friends.
And how would they get in contact with you?
You can contact me 2 or 3 different ways. You can contact us at on our website. It's www.webelongnetwork.org. Or you can contact us on Facebook. You can contact us on Instagram, so on and so forth. We're a multimedia digital organization, and not only are we here to help you, but we're also here to train you if you want to join our multimedia organization. So thank you very much for listening and helping us out. Hope to see you soon.
All right, this has been 13th Floor, Listen to a Vet. I'm Mark Robinson, and it's been a pleasure, Mr. Best, as usual.
My pleasure, Mark.
All right, everybody have a good night.
Good night.